Welcome to my monthly review of the books that I read / listened to for the month of January. January is a super long month, apparently. It's about like 800 days. So I was able to read / listen to 6 books this month. I usually listen to audiobooks just because of time and commute. So audiobooks are my go-to, and I do pick up physical books when I get a chance, but audiobooks are a win, especially if there's a great narrator, right? Can picture everything in my head. So I love audiobooks, and give it a try if you haven't. First up, for the month of January, I read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. It wasn't a great way to start off January. It was not one of my favorite books. I struggled with it. I listened to it, and I think I'm a fairly smart person. I but this book was just a bit confusing, and there's always twists and turns that the author is trying to do, and I just felt it was it was a miss for me. I know plenty of people looking online, plenty of people loved it. It's supposed to be like a psychological thriller, but it wasn't much of a thriller. And at the end, even though I figured out what it was trying to do, I still kind of had to go online and see what other people were saying just to make sure that I understood really what happened. And yeah, it was a miss for me. And I give it 2 stars out of 5 on Goodreads. It's, I always give points for somebody who writes a book. So there's that. Because I haven't written a book, so I don't want to be too judgy. Okay? So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars for me. The second book that I read for the month of January was First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. It was a fun read. It was real. It wasn't really realistic, of course, but it was fun. It's about like this girl who was struggling and turned into doing con artist stuff and theft and whatnot, and basically a boss kind of guy finds her and helps her out and teaches her, and she learns to the bigger cons and the bigger lies, of course. And so we're following her along on her journey, and things get dicey, and she's falling for a guy, and is this real, or not to get too deep, because she doesn't want to believe that her feelings. And so yeah, we watch as she goes to a bigger con, and how she deals with it in the aftermath. So I gave First Lie Wins 4 out of 5 stars, just because it was a fun read. It wasn't the best fun read I've read, but it was a good time, and I enjoyed listening to it. The third book I listened to was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I enjoyed it and was kind of frustrated by it at the same time. Marcellus, the giant Pacific octopus, the narrator's voice was really my favorite. I really enjoyed listening to him and how he read Marcellus. He was my favorite thing of the whole book. The other 2 main characters, because it goes through 3 different perspectives, including Marcellus, the giant Pacific octopus. The male, I find him to be a giant whiny crybaby, just because he was so focused on all the bad things that happened, the lot that was dealt to him in life, and just not being able to get over it, and thinking that if he did this easy path, that he would be on easy street, basically, and not being able to hold down a job because it's everybody else's fault. And I just really don't gel with characters like that. It gets really annoying really fast. So this one I did give 4 out of 5 stars because Marcellus was awesome. Yeah. The fourth book was All the Dangerous Things by Stacy Willingham. It's basically a mother struggling a year after her child goes missing out of their home. And this is how she's dealing with life and the aftermath and her struggles and her constant desire to find her son, keep her son's name out in the media, and doing talks in hopes of, somebody being able to bring out information. So it's a good read, and we feel for the mother as she's struggling and hoping, that her son is still alive. Is he alive? Is he dead? Who's going to help her? The police are suspicious of her. Everyone is suspicious of her because oftentimes when children go missing like that, they always look at the family, the mother, the father, and how she's dealing with her ex-husband and his life and lies. So it was a good read. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't great, but it was a good listen to. The fifth book that I listened to was a book club pick called Missing White Woman by Kellye Garrett. The main character really did not do it for me. The book was too long, too slow, not a thriller, even though it was trying to be. The character was another woe is me. Something happened in my life, and that really dictated the rest of her life. And you really get frustrated with her and all this back and forth. No, I believe everybody in the book club, we spent an hour just picking apart the different things that we did not like, and it was so full of holes, and we were looking at this and talking about that and how the author missed this and this was never resolved or that was still up in question and why this happened. It was so many questions because there were so many holes, and we got that the author was trying to convey a message about social media and the negative impact it can have and this mob mentality of you know finding fault in one thing and clasping onto it and dragging people down. We understood, but it just wasn't done well. And I hate to dump on people because, they did the effort of writing a book and getting it out there and published. But it was a miss for all of us in our book club. I gave it 2 stars out of 5, and that is just being really generous with my stars because it probably should have been like a 1.5. And again, she wrote a book, I didn't, so I gave her kudos for that. But the main character, you just want to grab her by the shoulders and shake her and slap some sense into her. And there was a profession that she wanted to be, but she couldn't do it because of this and that and all these things that happened. And it's just like, if you really wanted to be that profession, you could have, if you had the gumption, if you had the motivation, if you had the desire, the fire. And she didn't. And it was just so tiring to hear her, all of her excuses and just being stuck after years and years of this and this. And we were tired of the main character. She was exhausting. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. Wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Sorry. So the final book for January for me was The Perfect Wife by J.P. Delaney. It's how to explain it is basically Abby wakes up from a coma from an accident, but she's not Abby. She is basically a reboot of Abby. The real Abby died. Her husband who just loves her so much and can't do life without her, has figured out a way to create a robot that is not a robot, but is a robot, and that is not AI, but has Abby's memories from basically social media and anything that was like posted online that can be uploaded to the new Abby. And it's her trying to figure out what happened to original Abby, first Abby, Abby number one, and because she's a robot, I know it's said not a robot, but let's just call her a robot because I don't know a better way to describe her. But it's her trying to figure out what happened to Abby and this perfect life that they had. Everything is perfect, 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 but is it really perfect? And so it's robot Abby trying to figure out what happened with Abby number one, original Abby, and also at the same time navigating how to raise and interact with their son, who has a severe form of autism called Heller's syndrome, and how to connect with him, what's best for him, listening to her husband and seeing what he thinks is best for him, and can't disagree. It just gets, is it a perfect life, basically? And we see maybe there are little holes in this perfect life. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5. It was, it was a good read, right? I keep saying that, but it was a fun read. It wasn't, my favorite. It didn't always move very fast. It was sometimes kind of slow as they are establishing things. But as time goes on, you really start to see the big picture. And yeah, I liked it. And 4 out of 5. And yeah, is it a perfect life with the perfect wife? Yes. So those were my 6 books for the month of January. I listened to the audiobooks, and yeah, they were, I don't feel like it was a great start to January. I didn't feel like super excited about really any of these books. They weren't, some of them weren't terrible, most of them weren't terrible, but there was nothing that was like, oh, I got to stay up late and one more chapter, please, one more chapter, and staying up into the wee hours of the night, or wanting to continue listening to it while at work. None of those books were that for me this month. So I'm hoping next month or February will be better. Our book club book is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. And I'm hoping, that it's good. If you've read it, let me know. Don't give anything away, but, let me know if you enjoyed it or not. And tell me, what did you think about these books that I reviewed? Was I off on some of these? Did you enjoy the ones that I didn't care for? Or did you not care for the ones that I gave 4 stars to? Let me know what you think, and I look forward to hearing from you. Happy reading, y'all.